Hi, welcome to the Robertson Media Center at UVA. Today we're going to look at iMovie, kind of do a lightning round and move through as quickly as possible. So let's get started. What is iMovie? The digital video editing software that comes with Apple products. So it's free to use if you have an Apple device, or if you're in the G Lab or the Digital Media Lab, you can use it there. It's easy to use, designed to be intuitive. It's mostly drag and drop designed to be used with minimal technical knowledge. So let's get started. First, you can see this is the window here. You got the menu items up top, and up here you can see projects. If I select that, I can come back to projects or go to the media tab up top. I'm going to return to my memes project for a moment. Right next to that, over here is the import button. That's where you'll import your media. Over on this window is your media window, and also some of your effects are up on the top. This is the project you're working on, and this is the media library you have selected. And you can see in here I have all different types of media. I have video, I have photographs, I have a GIF, I have audio files, etc. All in here with different symbols to show you what they are. And I'll get to these top bars in a moment. Over here you have, this is the preview window. It's showing you what's in the timeline. Over here, if you double click on something, you can actually preview it here as well in the media library. But usually you see this little white and yellow line moving through, you can see is the preview down here. Up top, you've got all these different effects, which we'll go into very briefly in a little bit. Down here, we have the video timeline. This is where you put all of your things in a row to create a video. And it goes essentially from 0 through the project. You can see this project is 2 minutes and 18 seconds, and my selected point is 11 seconds into it. I have all kinds of different things in here as well. You can see there's photographs. I have these green ones down here are separate audio files that I've recorded versus the blue audio, which is in the bottom of the video. So those are linked to the video files themselves. Here I have a transition point, right, where it is going to do a gradual transition. And that's the different symbols here. You see this little kind of dark bar here. That means you can add one. And then I have a transition at the end going out. You can see I also have some titles here overlaid on top of a background. And so this is the timeline here. And if you want to make it bigger or smaller, you can grab this little slider over here and zoom in or zoom out. Super easy. Okay, let's create a new project. So again, you go up here to the projects panel, and I say create new, and I'm going to create a movie. Most situations you'll choose movie unless you're making a trailer specifically. And now I need to import media. However, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new event before I import the media, because then I can keep things organized. Okay, so I'm going to import some media. You can select here or here. Okay, I'm going to select my memes files, import selected, and you can see now I have all of these files in this particular movie library. Now I can drag and drop. So I'm going to put in the dancing baby, and you can see then I have it in my timeline. If I grab the edge, I can pull it in and adjust how long it is. So up here you can see that as I scroll through, I'm watching all of the footage and scrub. It's called scrubbing. If I were to have used it, it would have an orange line on it, and you can see how much of a project I have used, along with how long the duration is on these audio files, for instance, so you can see all of that. To make an edit, there are two workflows. You can either bring it in and edit the edges, like I showed you a moment ago, or you can edit beforehand. So if I take this, let's say the Rickroll, it's 38 seconds long. That's too long. I'm going to grab and really only have a 4.5 second clip, and then if I add it to my timeline, you can see that it's just the selected portion. The other thing you can do is just drag it in. I'm going to drag the whole thing in, and then I can cut the edges here. If you want them like two sections of it, so let me drag and drop that in again, and I want to cut it right here, for instance, you can actually just right click or control click and say split frame, or you can learn Command B as the keyboard shortcut. And now I have two different pieces that I can move around separately. I could even put this one on top of the other, for instance. All right, I'm going to delete those. As you can see, I've only used the selection tool because that's the only tool there really is in iMovie, unlike some of the other programs you might have used. You can cut, you can move things around, etc., just using the selection tool. So you can see as I drag things in, I'm going to drag in my some of my memes here. It automatically fills the gaps. So there's no gap between any of these. iMovie is going to automatically do that for you. It's not exactly like an empty timeline like in other programs. There are no gaps, and it's automatically going to try to create the pieces into a sequence for you, which can be really useful. It can also be a little bit challenging if you have certain things you want to do. Now I hit the space bar. I can watch it. As you can see, it's added an automatic effect on it, which we'll go into in a minute, called Ken Burns. And I press the space bar to stop. If I drag something in, I can actually put it between the different clips, and it's just going to pop in there and move this one backward. If I were to move it up on top, you can see I actually have a new set of options up here compared to this one. I'm going to select it, and now we can go through some of these options. The first one is called Cutaway. In this particular situation, if you were to select this one, you would not have that option. But since it's on top of another clip, you have Cutaway, which is going to give you some options. So you can either split screen, for instance, or you can do picture-in-picture. I'm going to go back to Cutaway. And then you can drop the opacity if you want it to be clear on top of the other one, or you can fade in or out. If I go over here to this one, it looks like a little crop tool. You can either do Ken Burns, which is currently set up to do, or you can crop to fill or fit. So if I wanted it just to come in and automatically be this size and not change, I can have it fit, and that's going to try to fit it to the frame. If I come back here and go crop to fill, you can see I can actually select what portion I want to crop it down to. And in this particular image, it would probably be best to do this one, right? So now it's filling that whole image here. If I go back to crop and I go to Ken Burns, I can actually have it move. Ken Burns is a filmmaker, of course, who made things like Ken Burns Civil War or Jazz, and he often used this effect, so it's named after him. And as you watch, you can see it is moving from the beginning to the end, and you create those individual points in this menu. So I can move those around like this, and I could go all the way from the beginning to the end. I could make it zoom in a little bit or zoom out if I grab this corner and pull it in, and I can say, oh, that's how I want to watch it, right? Zooming in and moving down. So that's Ken Burns. I'm going to actually undo that, and I'm going to crop to fill and select that portion here. I'm also going to come back here. Cutaway just means that it is just sitting up on top, but then you can fade in and out with these menus here. If I come back to this one, another menu, we got color. I won't go into that, but you can play with those. And you also have some automatic settings. I recommend avoiding those unless you have a real problem, just because some of them are more useful than others, but play around with that. Okay, let's talk about titles. So I'm going to come in here and click on the Titles tab up on top. There's also an Audio tab. We won't go into that, but that's where your audio files are. If we move over to Titles, you have all of these different options for titles, including, for instance, the Star Wars style. You come in here, you type it in. You can see it's going to scroll through text. Some of these are pretty cheesy. For instance, that one. Some of them are a little bit more subtle. So this one kind of comes in nicely and out for your title text. You also have some lower thirds where you can put people's names or things like that in here. So just choose one of these and put it in your project. For instance, I'm going to grab scrolling credits, and then you could see if I had all this test text here, that's how it looks when it comes in. Okay, now how do I get something behind it? You're going to need some backgrounds. Literally, you'll place this up underneath. So if I put underwater, for instance, I could put that here, drag the title, and put it up on top. And now I have this set of titles with the water underneath. So you can select these backgrounds in here. There's everything from just plain colors like black, white, green, blue, through some moving ones such as the curtain or underwater. You also have transitions here. So the only ones that I really recommend are the first four: cross dissolve, fade to black, fade to white, and occasionally cross blur. It looks pretty nice and professional, right? You can see that this is an example of what it's going to do, and you just drag it and drop it right here between two clips, and you can see now if I were to play it, right, I have a nice transition cross dissolve between the two, and you can see it shows up with this symbol here. The rest of these are maybe a little cheesy, so you can see this one like a page, right, turning, or a wipe. Let's talk for just a moment about audio. I'm going to drag an audio clip in here. See, I can put this also underneath. And I want to, for instance, fade in or out or change the volume. Well, there's a volume bar here that you can grab, and you can see it's going from 0 to up to 400%. As you get louder, you can see these little red parts mean that it's clipping or it's too loud. So you want to drop that down to maybe just peaking into yellow, but you can keep it into green if you'd like. And then you can grab these little edges here. These, see how it's different from this symbol up to this one. This one is a fade in, fade out cross dissolve versus this one, which is going to cut your clip. So I'm going to grab this one and pull it in. You also have a lot more control than that. If you hold Option and you select a point, you can create individual animation points to adjust your audio. Again, I'm holding Option and I'm selecting. So now I drop down this audio during this section, and then I bring it back up over here. So you can control a little bit more specifically how loud something is at any particular time to mix your audios together. Great, so we have a perfect project, except we need to turn it in. So if you were to go to File, Save. Oh, there's no save option. iMovie automatically saves your projects for you into your iMovie library. The problem with that is you can't save as and put it on an external drive very easily. But let's say you're completely done. Let's go through that first and export. If you go to File, there's no export. There is a share though, and you can see right here, here's your share options. It's also up on the top right corner. You can see share. If I hit share and I click on File, then it's going to give me a file that I can use to turn in digitally. Type in your name, and then the rest of these are pretty good, except maybe the resolution. You want to choose the highest resolution you can. But notice that over here you have your estimated file size. As you go to higher quality, you can see that the size here goes much, much larger. We have 175 megabytes for a tiny, tiny 22-second video. So I'm going to go back to medium. Actually, I think should be good for a lot of projects, unless you're doing something really high-end professional. Then you can go up to ProRes, for instance. Faster is fine. And then you can go to the highest resolution you have available. So you click Next, and you will find a place to place it. And I'm going to go to my desktop, click Save. And now you can see I have a file here successfully exported. It's an MP4, and you can turn that in. One additional thing we'll cover really quickly is if you need to transfer this to a different computer, you're going to need to go to your Finder window. So I have my Finder window. I click Go, Home. It's the easiest way to do this. And then under Movies, you will see your iMovie library. This is what you need to bring with you in case you need to move to a different computer. Okay, that's it. So that's as fast as I could possibly move. If you have other questions, make sure you ask in class. Thanks.